Don't come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you're standing is holy ground. Can you see old Moses? Now Moses was raised by a godly mother. You remember that story? He went to the palace of Pharaoh and was there for a while, but now God says to him, take off your shoes because you're standing on holy ground. Can you see old Moses? He's going, but God, I don't see any pews. But God, I don't see any baptisms. God, I don't see any crosses. How can this be holy ground? It doesn't have any of the things that's in my church or my temple or my synagogue. Y'all miss this. God said it's holy because I'm here. You see, folks, you can be out somewhere up under a tree somewhere in the jungle of Panama we've been before, or somewhere in the Dominican Republic, or somewhere, there's no church building nowhere around. And it can be holy ground because God is there. But let me tell you the reverse of that. Hold on, church, buckle up. This might hurt. You can be in the most beautiful church building ever made, and it cannot be holy ground because God is not there. He's not welcomed. Lord, help us. That's exactly right. He said, you're in the presence of God because it's holy ground. So take off your shoes, like I told the kids. Take off those sandals, Moses. You know why? First of all, they're man-made. They're not something I made. But number two, Moses, you've been following those sheep, and you might have something stuck to your shoes. Your shoes might be defiled. Remove them and stand barefooted in the hot sand before me, because I am holy. Remove sin. Remove addictions. Remove things that are unholy in your life. Remove gossip. Remove jealousy. Remove those things that put a barrier between you and I. Woo. Remove your past failures. Remove your present fears. Remove anything that keeps a barrier between me and you. Whew. You see the word holy here, you're standing on holy ground, means separated. Folks, I remind you of our holiness tradition, our holiness doctrine. We are called to be sanctified, set apart, holy unto God. Our theme song for the Church of Nazarene is holiness unto the Lord is our watchword and song. Be reminded this morning. He said to him, remove those things. He said, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. Remember Isaiah? He saw the Lord high and holy and lifted up, and he said, I'm undone. I'm a man of unclean lips. I know I live amongst a people of unclean lips. I'm undone. Remember whenever Job, he experienced the Lord, and he says, I've heard about you, but now I've seen you with my eyes, and I take back everything I've ever thought about you. Folks, when you see the Lord, listen to me, when you see the Lord with spiritual eyes, when you see the Lord, the first thing you will notice is sin in your life that has to be removed so you can see Him even better. Y'all missed it. You should have got excited about that. Because here's the thing. God can't look upon you when you've got sin in your life. But when you get a chance to get a glimpse of Him, spiritually, you can encounter Him, the first thing it will do is say, I want to remove anything and everything that keeps Him from pouring out His love on me. I want everything God has for me. I want all the love, all the mercy, all the blessings, all the grace, all those things. But I've got to remove the sin in my life. I've got to take off my sandals. I got to do all those things to get in touch with Him. You see, when you see God in His holiness, you want to remove things from your life that are not pure and holy. You want to see what God can do. You see, but here's the thing. Had Moses said, now, but God, these are brand new. I just got them in off Amazon. I mean, you know, I really don't want to take these shoes off, these sandals off, because that sand's going to be hot, God. He would have missed His blessing. I would have said, if you want to do it your way, listen to me, church. If you want to do it your way, you don't want to obey me, you don't want to remove things that are sinful and bad in your life, guess what? You're going to miss your blessing because I'm not going to tabernacle with you. I'm not going to fellowship with you. Oh, and now we get to the church party. Are you ready? Don't give excuses. Oh, Moses, he had a whole bag full of excuses of why he couldn't do what God wanted him to do. I read a quote that said, excuses are the nails used to build a house of failure. Let me say that again. Excuses are the nails used to build a house of failures. Folks, if you want to be successful in the kingdom of God or even in life itself, don't give excuses, just do it. Listen to the excuses. Excuse number 1, I'm not qualified. Look at verse 11. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? Moses says, I'm small, I'm weak, I'm insignificant. There's so many other more people that can do this better than me. You know what God said to him? I love this. God said, you're right. You are small. You are insignificant. You are weak. But guess what? Look at that next part of that verse. But I will be with you. Oh, I wish I could stand here for the next hour and tell you, as a pastor over 20 years of preaching, how many times we've asked somebody, would you be the van driver, or would you teach this class, or would you... Well, I can't do that. I'm not qualified. What if I'm driving that van and one of these kids asks me something about the book of Obadiah? I mean, what if I'm teaching this class? And, folks, I want to tell you something. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the ones He calls. Just be available. He'll do the rest through you. Moses up here, he's got this excuse. God says to him, Moses, I love to do big things through small people. It confounds the wise. When somebody steps forward, you say, you asked them to do that? And God shows up. Listen, I got to tell you this story. I didn't think I plan on going there, but when we were in Dalton, there was a man, and his name was Jimmy, and that's all I'm going to use. He's no longer, he's already gone to heaven, but Jimmy was a great guy, but Jimmy had throat cancer. And Jimmy had lost his voice box. He had to hold up one of those little things to be able to speak. And because of that, Jimmy had lost all of his self-esteem. When I met Jimmy, a small Methodist church there in town was going to close the doors. And about 10 or 12 people from that church were going to start coming to our church because our doctrine was the same, okay? And when I met Jimmy, Jimmy lived in a cave. What do you mean lived in a cave? Jimmy literally lived in a cave. He was a mobile home. He had all the windows blacked out with garbage bags. He never came out during the day. Jimmy did all of his grocery shopping and everything at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Why? He did not want to encounter people. He didn't want to be around people. He was so embarrassed to having to speak with this thing. He told me when I first met him, he said, preacher, if you ever come to my house, let me know what time, because you don't just show up at my house. He said, so I got to know Jimmy pretty well, long story short. One of the best things in the world that ever happened to Jimmy was a closed door. Sometimes when God closes doors in your life, it's a good thing. What happened to Jimmy was the church closed up. They decided to sell the property. That trailer Jimmy was on that property. Jimmy had to move. And when Jimmy had to move out of that cave, he moved to a place out in the country. There was cows around him all the time. He fresh air and all that. And Jimmy... It's what the key was to Jimmy's heart. Jimmy got saved. And Jimmy found the Lord. And he came to me and he said, preacher, I want to do something in the church. What can I do in the church? This is the same guy was in the cave, remember, okay? I said, well, Jimmy, now that you mention it, we need a greeter on Sunday morning to stand out in the lobby of our church and to pass out bulletins and say, welcome, we're glad you're here. Now, you would think, and that's the most unqualified person you could ever put as a greeter. Imagine the first impression of your church. You come up as a stranger to this church, you open the door, and there's a man with a voice box going, welcome to our church. We're so glad you're here. I want to tell you something. It set Jimmy on fire. I would get to the church at 7:30, 7 o'clock. Our church Sunday school didn't start till 9:30. Guess what? Guess who was there when I got there in the parking lot? Jimmy. Ready to go to work. Ready to do something. Is there anything else I can do for the Lord? Folks, I want to tell you something. That's what happens when you get a glimpse of Jesus. Where you think you unqualified, He says, guess what? I am more than qualified, and I will work through you. Woo! Excuse number 2, I'm not authorized. Verse 13. Moses said to God, suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you. And they ask me, what's his name? Who is he? Who sent you? I love what God exposes in verse 14. He says, tell them, I am sent you. I am. God said to Moses, I am who I am. That's what you'll say to them. I am sent me. What in the world does that mean? I am. Well, it kind of means I am, and you fill in the blank. I am your healer. I am your provider. I am your authority. I am your ruler. All those things. I am. I love this right here. Do you know in our days of rechargeable things, you got to plug in your phone to recharge it. I have to plug in this microphone to recharge it, put the rechargeable battery. God never needs to be recharged. He's always all-powerful, all-knowing, all-seeing. He is I am. He said, you just tell him the I am sent him, buddy. Now, can you imagine, I go down here and I go into the bank next week and I say, COVID's been hard and all that. And I need to take out a $10,000 loan. And they said, okay, who's going to sign for you? Who's going to vouch for you? I am. I am. You think they're going to give you $10,000? Probably not. But let me tell you something. I am can give it to me whether I ask it from the bank or not. Whatever need you have, I am. Marriage is falling apart. I am. I can bring healing. But health problems, I am. Listen to me, honey. Cancer, I am. I am. I am your healer. I'm your provider. I'm your caretaker. Oh, you see, he may not have been authorized, but God said, I am. He said, I'm not believable. Look at chapter 4, verse 1. What if they don't believe me or listen to me and say that the Lord did not appear to you? He says, Moses says, God said, I've already told you, verse 18, they will pay heed to you. Now, here's a key point you need to get a hold of. What was Moses really doing? He was doubting God. What if, God, they won't believe me? What if they say, I haven't seen you? And guess what? You're saying, God, I don't trust you. I don't believe you can come through. Folks, I want to tell you, and I'm just being honest and transparent before you this morning. When they tell you that your child's got cancer, and some of you here can relate to that, you start sometime in your heart going, what if God doesn't heal him? What if God doesn't do this? And God says, here's the thing. I am who I say I am. When I tell y'all last Sunday, I want to remind you again, when I first found out Ryan had cancer, I went to God and I said, God, oh God, please lay that cancer on me. Give me that cancer. Ryan's 35 years old. He's got 2 precious children. He needs, you know what God said? Listen to me. He said, I didn't make a mistake. I know what I'm doing. But God, I don't like that. I want me to have cancer, not my child. And God says, I am that I am. And I can take care of this. And I can receive, are you ready? I can receive glory for what happens in an impossible situation. That's what he told Moses. You think Moses is going to be impossible? They're going to say, we don't know who this I am is. How we know? He says, just remind you, they will heed what you say because I will be prepared their hearts. Woo! This is good stuff, folks. He said, God said, don't call me a liar. Don't think I've messed up. I can handle it. Excuse number 4. I am articulate. Look at verse 10. I'm not articulate. Moses said to the Lord, O Lord, I've never been eloquent, neither in the past as you've spoken to your servant. I'm slow of speech and language. He's saying, God, I just can't do it. God, you know I stutter. You know that I don't speak plain. You know that I can't do this. And God says, I have unlimited power. I can help you. Not only will I fix it so that you can speak, but the people will also listen. It's one thing when the preacher speaks. It's another thing when people listen. Somebody was joking the other night about sleeping through the sermon. I said, don't worry about it. I sleep through some of my own sermons. You see, it's one thing to be able to speak. It's another to be able to listen. And God said, I'll make them be able to listen. Remember, Ephesians says He is able to do immensely more than we can think or ask. And if God is for us, who can be against us? Moses still isn't listening. He says, verse 13, look at this. But God, please send somebody else. Here we go again, church. 20 years of pastoring. Would you serve on the church board? Why don't you get Karen to do that? Or get Sally to do that? Would you teach this girl Sunday school class? Why don't you get so-and-so to do that? Get somebody else. Just anybody but me. So see, folks, you didn't originate with that. Moses started it way back when. And God says, no, you're who I called. Now look at verse 14 of chapter 4. You need to in here. We're winding down to the end. Then God got angry. Did you catch that? Let me say it again. Moses said, send somebody else. Then God got angry. It still happens today, folks. When God says to somebody, you need to be teaching, preaching, doing whatever, and you say no, get somebody else, God still gets angry. He says, I'm going to bless my people, and I'm going to free the people. He said there's 3 million people in slavery in Egypt that need to be let out of there, and I'm appointing you to be the leader. No more excuses. I'm getting mad about this. Now, folks, I don't know about you. I don't want to do anything to make God mad. I want to be obedient and do what He tells me to do. And so, it's simple. Moses didn't believe God. He didn't trust God. He was fear of failure. All those excuses we have today. And God says, are you ready? I'm going to bless in spite of you. I'm going to use you. Folks, if you could put up with a pastor like me who doesn't speak good English and sometimes gets so far off track, if you can do that, then you know what? We can hold on to that. We can see God grow a church here. Because I'm trusting Him. I can't trust my own abilities. Oh, we have to hold on and say, God, you are who you are. God said, I am who I am. He said, thus shall you say to the sons of Israel, I am sent me. In other words, He's saying, Moses, guess what? Now, here's a good part. If God calls you to preach, if God calls you to teach, if God calls you to play, God calls you to sing, God calls you to do anything, it's not on you. Except to be able to be available, let Him work through you. Ain't that good? I don't think they got it. You see, we think it's on us. If I don't preach a good sermon today, well, people are going to go to hell. If I forget a line of the song, Mary Ann, let me tell you something. It's not about us. It's about Him working through us. So we trust Him and we believe Him by faith and say, God, may you receive the glory. Woo! Last point. Get moving. Verse 20. So Moses took his wife and his sons, and he put them on a donkey and started back to Egypt. And he took the staff of God in his hand. Man, you do realize and understand that when Moses loads up on that donkey and Moses starts back to Egypt, there's an arrest warrant still waiting for him for killing that Egyptian way back when. But God takes care of that. God wipes that out. But in Moses' mind, he didn't know that. He still had that fear. He still had that be, you know what he had more than anything? You hold on. He had the staff of God, which to him represented the presence of God. Wherever you go, wherever God leads you, whatever God leads you into, be sure and know that God, if He goes with you, He goes before you, and He takes care of those things. Oh, I'm going to get a little personal here, and not to hurt anybody's feelings, but just telling the truth, okay? My first pastorate, DS called me and said, I've got 2 churches open. You've been going through the school system. It's time for you to start to take a church. You've got to get your experience. I took a whole day off from work and went to 2 different churches, walked around those churches 7 times, prayed over them and said, God, I don't want to make a mistake. Which one should I go to? God led me to this church. And when He led me there, first thing, when word got out I was going to that church, I had 3 more pastor friends call me and says, you're not really going to that church, are you? And I said, yeah. They said, you do know that this church has had 4 pastors in the last 8 years. More seasoned men than you. I mean, guys have been preaching for 20 years, and they get there and they get run off within 2 years. One man said to me, he said, they'll chew you up and spit you out and you'll be out of the ministry. You know what my answer to him was? God has led me to this church. So He'll go ahead of me. And my prayer to God was this: God, whatever is the issue, whatever is the problem there, you go just like an arrow hitting the middle of a target, and you take care of that. Because they're right. I can't handle this. I've never pastored before. They'll chew me up and spit me out. Folks, I won't get into any details or any personalities. I just want to say this. A month before I went to pastor that church, God took care of the situation and removed the person out of position. And guess what happened? God thrived our ministry there. We saw a little church of 30 go to 150. We built a new building because of Him, because He had called me, just like He did Moses, to go there to be a part of that. You see, folks, I could have been fearful. I could have listened to the people around me. But I knew that God had said, it's time for you to go and go right there to that place. Folks, I want to tell you something. When you've got that kind of assurance in your life, and you're letting God lead you that way, hope will lead you out of whatever wilderness you're in. Whatever wilderness you're walking through this morning, if it's your health issues, your financial issues, your marital issues, your relationship issues, school issues, teenagers, whatever in the world it is your wilderness is, God has a way out. But you've got to remove whatever sin there is in your life. And you've got to get clean before Him so He can say, now I can use you. Whatever excuses you have, God, I'll tell you something, you can never out-excuse God. You tell you what I mean by that, okay? You could come up with 150 excuses. God's got 151 answers. But the biggest thing is if He says, I am with you, don't hold back. Hit it full boat and run, man. Don't hold back. Why? Because if God is with us, who can be against us? Oh. I don't know what wilderness you're in this morning. I really don't. Addiction, I don't know. But I know what? I know a God who knows, and a God who's got a solution and wants to lead you out of that wilderness. Aren't you tired of the way you're living? Are you tired of the way there's no joy, there's no passion, there's nothing there to thrill you anymore? You know what? God's got a better plan for you. God's got a plan A for you, a perfect will for you. Oh. Father, I just thank You this morning. I hope You've allowed me to be used. I hope, Lord, that You will take these words that You've used through me this morning and be just like an arrow hitting somebody's heart this morning. Somebody will get up and say, I want to get out of this wilderness. I want to walk in the land You want me to walk in, Lord. I want to lead and do whatever You want me to do. No more excuses. No more looking at who I am or who I'm not, but looking at who You are. Because You are I am. You can do all things through me. So, Lord, bless us today. May this be a turnaround day for Fitzgerald Church of the Nazarene. May it be a turnaround day for somebody that's listening online. May it be a turnaround day for somebody that's in a funk, somebody that's in a wilderness and needs to get out. May this be their day of hope, their day of help, their day of healing, whatever it may be. In Your wonderful, precious name, amen. Will you stand this morning? I'm just going to invite you to the altar. If God says move, don't stay. Simple. If God says come and bring your burden, your praise, your offering of sacrifice of praise, whatever it may be, God's saying just come on down this morning as the altar's open. Come and do business with God. You see, Maybe you came in here this morning in the wilderness and God came in here and says, I want to meet with you this morning. Do you think when Moses got up that day and was leading the sheep, he thought, oh, it's going to be just another day, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a bush burning. Never seen that before, never seen it not burn. Maybe God wanted to use something in this service this morning to get your attention to lead you out. If you're too busy, too distracted, whatever, you're going to miss your blessing. If you're not obedient, you're going to miss your blessing. So do what God's telling you to do right now. The altar's open. If anybody needs to come pray about anything. Thank you for being here today. I hope you'll come back tonight. We're going to talk about what to do while you're waiting. You know, personally, we're waiting for Wednesday to get here to start radiation. Personally, we're waiting for healing. Also, we're all waiting for Jesus Christ to come back. And so we're going to talk about tonight what to do when you're waiting, what you should be doing. God has a purpose and a plan for that. And so let's be sure that we do all that God has called us to do. Be following Him in every aspect, every part of the way. By the way, will you dismiss us in prayer?